Okay, so this will be a dissection of the crayfish. First, brief overview of the externals. What I have here are two whole specimens. I'll just use this one to illustrate the overall external morphology. These are the animal's antennae. Those are its eyes. This overall broad structure over here is called the carapace. Okay. This structure back here is called the abdomen. This is the tail back here. If we were to turn the animal over on its side, you would see there are many mouth parts here, followed by a pair of claws, and then you have 4 pairs of walking legs, okay, which are shown here, and this is the ventral side of the animal. And then associated with the ventral side of the abdomen are these paired little swimming legs called swimmerets. And then here's the tail again. Okay. And there is the anus of the animal. This is another specimen. And the reason why I have 2 here, is because I'm going to teach you how to tell which one is a male and which one, teach you how to tell the difference between male and female. Okay, and simply the way to do that is just turn the animal over, pay attention to its abdomen. Okay, and on the abdomen, you'll notice that on this specimen, you have sort of the anterior swimmerets having the same sort of texture and structure like a walking leg. Now, if you can feel it, it would feel just as stiff as a walking leg. On this one, it doesn't. All the swimmerets are identical. This right here is a male, and this one's a female. Now, it has everything to do with this structure over here. Okay. What this structure provides, sort of these modified anterior swimmerets that have become stiff and rigid structures, these actually act to transfer sperm onto the female. Okay, and so this structure right here is specifically adapted for sperm transfer, which is why you don't see it in the female. Okay, so if ever you wanted to know the difference between a male and a female crayfish, or even a lobster, just flip it over and pay close attention to the swimmerets and note how the anterior swimmerets look like, or what their texture is like relative to the swimmerets that are more posterior. If they are different, with the ones anterior being stiffer, you have a male. If they're all the same, you have a female. Okay. Other things to mention about this animal, which are pretty cool, is that if we were to look on the inside of the animal, behind the eyes, you'd have the stomach. The stomach would be sort of inside here. Okay. So the stomach is located really behind the eyes and the face. The other thing that's really interesting about this animal is that if you look down here, this is where its major nerve cord is. Now, if you know anything about chordates, you know that chordates have a dorsal hollow nerve cord. Well, in the arthropods, especially in the crustacea, you have a ventral, and it's not hollow, it's a solid nerve cord. And so that's a major character that distinguishes chordates from the arthropods. Okay, so that's the externals. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is share with you a little bit about the internals of the animal by using this specimen. Okay, so this specimen is a specimen that was actually dissected by a student. We'll give credit to the student who did this dissection. Okay. And having a little bit of problem here. Okay. I'll just keep filling. Okay. What we're going to do now is talk about the internals of the animal. So this specimen right here is a crayfish, and now what the student did to expose the internals was actually she did a lengthwise section such that pretty much you can see all the internals along the length of the animal. Okay, it's a really beautiful dissection. If you remember what I had said about the externals of the animal, what I'm going to do is actually talk about this half right here to illustrate some qualities. Well, here are the eyes. It's the carapace. Right here. Oops. Right here in this general vicinity is the stomach. Okay, and then here is where you would find the ventral solid nerve cord of the animal. Okay, so what else do I want to mention here? Well, I think we'll leave it at that for now. We can go into more detail. If you're interested, there are plenty of resources that we'll make available. But for the purposes of this course, just focus more on those two interesting qualities: the stomach behind the face and the major nerve cord on the belly side instead of the back. Now, I say that those are unique because I'm listing characters that are unique compared to chordates. Okay. Now, if you were to take a whole specimen and actually remove the carapace, this is what you would see. And you're probably wondering what this fluffy stuff, the thing that looks fluffy, looks like. What these little hairs are actually the gills of the animal. And so the animal has walking legs behind the claw, and at the base of the shoulder it has a sort of an additional extension that comes out that actually forms the gills. And that's kind of bizarre, but crustaceans, many crustaceans, like this guy, and also crabs, same overall organization. The walking legs have sort of a shoulder. At the base, you have gills coming out. And so, with the same sort of base for a walking appendage, you also have a breathing appendage there. Okay, and that brings up a really interesting point, actually a unique quality about this group, the Crustacea. Crustaceans are actually one of the synapomorphies, one of the shared derived characteristics of this group, is that they have what are called biramous appendages. Now, biramous means, well, let's break the word down. Bi means two, ramus means associated with branching. And so in the crustaceans, you have appendages that often have two branches coming out of a single base. And what I just mentioned about the walking leg sort of exemplify this. You have one base, one appendage is a walking leg, the other appendage is a gill. Okay. If we were to actually look at other structures to verify that this animal has additional biramous appendages, take a look at one of the swimmerets. Okay, let's see if I can illustrate this. If you look at a swimmeret, the base of the swimmeret, you have a paired structure. It's a little swimmeret. There's two. It's a biramous structure. Two sort of appendages that come out from the same base. Okay, so you can see that there. So, from the swimmerets to the walking legs, and also if you actually were to look at the mouth parts or even the antennae, these structures that I highlighted all are biramous, meaning at their base they have two sort of extensions coming out, two branches, and that really typifies on this group, the Crustacea. Okay, so that really pretty much summarizes what I'd like for you to know about this animal, that they're crustaceans. Crustaceans are characterized by having biramous appendages. Their stomach is in a weird place. Their major nerve cord is in a weird place. Their gills are in a weird place. Overall, though, it's It's an animal that you've probably been familiar with for a long time, but if you hadn't known those other things about their anatomy, then hopefully you have a little bit of a greater appreciation for them. The last bit of knowledge I'll bestow on you is that, well, you can't really quite see it in the crayfish, but the next time you're at a seafood store where you have live lobsters, pay attention to the overall sort of structure of the claw. Now, you can't really see it on this guy, but if you were to look at sort of a clawed lobster, a Maine lobster, what you'll notice right away is that one claw will actually have what looks like molars, and that claw is pretty much adapted for crushing things. The other claw will have things that look like sharp edges, and that claw is pretty much adapted for tearing things. And so while this animal has a mouth here, it sort of has its teeth on its claws, one claw being the molars for crushing and the other claw kind of looking like canines for slicing. And so you can think of the animal as having sort of its mouth here but its teeth out here. And so crayfish have it too, but you can't quite see it that well. This is where its molar claw is, and this is sort of where you'd have more of its canine claw. Okay, and so pretty cool animal, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.